this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, the resurrected Frieza continues to invade Earth, and everyone's favorite purple posing powerhouse finally returns. That's right, my friends, Captain Ginyu is back. At this point in time, this is my favorite episode of Dragon Ball Super. We have an event here which is completely different from the movie versions, and we also get to see the return of one of the most fan-favorite villains from the series, Captain Ginyu, who spent his entire life living on Earth as a frog, and when Frieza and his army returned, he took advantage of this and switched bodies with Togama. The way that he pulls this off is really funny, because the episode opens up with Togama just completely wasting Earth's strongest warriors, displaying his power in an honestly great fashion. He takes out Tien Shinhan in one massive punch, and then takes out Gohan, Krillin, Piccolo, and Roshi all at the same time by punching and kicking them all at once. Definitely my favorite move from this week's episode. However, this episode has a little bit of comedy relief when suddenly out of nowhere Gotenks shows up and ends up slamming right into Togama's crotch. This scene is really funny because Frieza gets to see two different versions of the characters that basically defeated and killed him. Not so much Goten, but just the fact that Goten looks like Goku, and then Trunks is the younger version of the future version of the character who sliced and diced and blasted his ass. So Frieza's reaction to this is pretty awesome, but they basically are just there for a split second. They run away to hang out with Jacko and Bulma. However, while Togama is collecting his testicles, suddenly the Ginyu frog jumps right in front of him, and what it does is it actually writes this note in the dirt, which says change, and then he makes Togama say this, and apparently, if he's like in tune with someone when he's like doing this, he can actually switch bodies, and now he has taken over the body of Togama. The voice is back, and so is the posing, and oh my god, it is gloriously ridiculous! I still love the fact that even when Frieza is confronted by Ginyu, even Frieza's a little confounded. You even get to see those traditional anime sweat marks. After going through a wardrobe change, Ginyu finally decides to go on the attack, and he's pretty devastatingly powerful, and he mostly fights against Gohan. This is a perfect rematch for these characters. What I really love about this is that basically Ginyu is here to sort of like draw out Gohan's Latin abilities, to make him a Super Saiyan again, and once he does go Super Saiyan, he certainly does take over the battle, but Ginyu's personality and overall bravado just completely sucks you in with how incredibly ridiculous it is. I know the character is probably going to get killed again, but god, I would love to see him stick around and try to make a next generation Ginyu force. We're just going to have to wait and see. Who knows what Dragon Ball Super is going to offer, but like I said, Gohan pretty much just ends up wiping the floor with him, and that's when Frieza gets pissed and finally decides to start blasting his ass repeatedly in the arms, legs, chest, just completely knocking him out, losing his Super Saiyan powers, and as he's getting ready to finish him off, what seems like a callback to a classic scene from the series, Piccolo decides to jump in the way and take a blast to the chest. Very similar to when Nappa was getting ready to kill Gohan and he jumped in the way. The only difference here is it's not as ridiculous and over the top, and I have a feeling that Piccolo's gonna be just fine because 1, he's a Namek, and 2, they still have a big bag of senzu beans. The other portion of the episode sees Goku and Vegeta starting their brand new training. Now, it looks like we sent them to this weird dimension which is very similar to the hyperbolic time chamber. The only difference is it has a lot of like dense godlike ki inside of it, so you have to learn to control your power, otherwise you're not going to be able to move. And just like the hyperbolic time chamber, it looks like time is going to slow down just a little bit, so this is perfect for Goku and Vegeta. It's going to allow them to train the most they can and probably attain the power of Super Saiyan Blue, just like in the movie versions, although they're more concerned about running out of food. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super? This was probably my favorite episode of the series thus far, just for the fact that there's a lot of new stuff going on in this episode, and that they decided to take a character from the movies who was killed off almost immediately, bring him back, make him stronger, and then make him switch bodies with Ginyu just to bring that character back. That is freaking awesome. I am so glad that they finally did something with Ginyu again, because they were keeping him on Earth for a reason, possibly. Maybe this entire time, we've just been waiting for the return of Ginyu. Honestly, I'm just ecstatic just the fact that he returned. He's one of my favorite characters, he's incredibly funny, and he's one of those few characters who can act like that in front of Frieza and get away with it. You know, you would think that Frieza Frieza would get really annoyed with Ginyu's antics, but Frieza seems pretty happy for the fact that Ginyu is back, although he does comment that he wishes his personality could change with his actual form. But I really wouldn't have it any other way. Getting to see him like hug himself and do all those poses and tog on his body is so incredibly classic. I also like the fact that Goten and Trunks commented that they can do better poses because that's what they do all the time too. In fact, a lot of characters in the series do a lot of ridiculous poses, but it's Ginyu who always do the ones that are just over-the-top ridiculous and usually involve seeing his ass in some sort of strange way, so it's always funny. And just getting to see him fight was awesome. When he was Togama at the beginning, that was really great. Definitely, I think, the highlight of this week's episode, especially when he took them all out in one punch, or the scene where he ripped off Piccolo's arm and punched him. That looked really freaking brutal. My only complaint about the episode is that it almost seems a little bit censored. Like, we've had a lot of scenes in the series where characters have been hit repeatedly with blasts. Like, there was that one scene on Namek where Frieza was in his third form and constantly shooting Piccolo, and it was really bloody and messed up. We've seen characters with, like, giant holes in their body, and there's blood everywhere. Blood is, like, completely absent from this series. Like, Piccolo had his arm ripped off, and there really wasn't anything there. It almost seems as if, you know, they're a little more conservative about this stuff nowadays, because if you watch the classic Dragon Ball, it can get pretty freaking intense at times. That being said, this is still a pretty awesome, epic episode of Dragon Ball Super, which I'm really starting to enjoy. I also like the fact that they are just getting right through this Frieza arc. It's only a matter of time before it's done, and we finally move on to the big brand new material from the series, which is going to involve the character of Champa and Vados. Can't wait to see how they're going to handle that. But this episode right here, I still thought was pretty damned entertaining. Like I said, I think it's an episode that any Dragon Ball fan should check out, especially if you grew up watching the series. You're going to get a lot of nostalgia from this one, from just all the different arcs sort of converging in one, with Gotenks showing up, and Frieza and Ginyu. It's just the perfect reunion of good and evil, and it's really fun to watch. Artwork, animation, technical side of things, it was a pretty okay looking episode. You know, as good as Toei animation can get. I still think that older classic Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z actually looks better, but still, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing right here. Just the nostalgia and the entertainment value that I'm getting from the series, I can't speak enough for it. But I will say, I loved this episode right here. It was a pleasant surprise. It's my favorite episode of the series thus far, and that's why I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 5. I don't think it was a perfect episode, but I have nothing to complain about on this one aside from, like, nitpicking stuff. So this was a wholly entertaining episode that any Dragon Ball fan should definitely check out. But if you did watch this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, please tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Are you excited to see the return of Captain Ginyu? Were you ever a fan of that character? Who's your favorite member of the Ginyu Force? Do you want to see a next generation or maybe the return of the previous members? What do you want to see from the rest of the Frieza arc in Dragon Ball Super? Make sure to tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. You guys probably noticed at the very beginning of this video that we had a brand new intro, and that's because we're working with some brand new graphics. We're trying to create some brand new things for 2016. We're going to try to up the quality of our videos a little bit, and we just wanted to use this as a test bed. Do you like the brand new intro? We think it's pretty awesome, but we would love to hear from you guys, so please tell us in the comment section below. Make sure to subscribe, follow us on social media, and all that jazz. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!